The men who carried the ark kept dying. Not metaphorically, not spiritually. The text records their names, the circumstances, and in several cases, the exact moment of death. The tradition never lied about this. It simply learned over centuries to say it quietly. To understand what the Ark of the Covenant actually did to the people around it, you have to step out of every modern framework you have been given and enter a world where the divine presence was not a comfort. It was a physical force, spatially localized, and by every account available to us, genuinely lethal under the wrong conditions. The ancient Near East was saturated with this theology long before Israel appeared. The Egyptians kept sacred arks, portable shrine boxes carried on poles in procession, not as decoration but as vehicles for divine presence. The gods of Mesopotamia were believed to inhabit their cult statues in a literal, physical sense. When a city fell in battle, the theological explanation was not that the army had failed. It was that the god had departed. Presence was power. Presence was protection. And presence, in every tradition that handled it seriously, was dangerous to approach without the correct protocols. This was not superstition. This was the operative cosmology of the most sophisticated civilizations the ancient world produced. Into that world, the Ark arrives. It is described in Exodus as a chest of acacia wood overlaid with gold, approximately 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide, roughly 4 feet by 2.5 feet. On its lid, 2 golden cherubim face each other with wings extended. The space between those wings was understood to be the throne of the God of Israel, the precise location of the divine presence on earth, not a symbol of that presence, the presence itself. The protocols around it reflect exactly what that meant. The instructions are specific enough to constitute a survival manual. The Ark could only be handled by Levites. Not all Levites, but specifically the sons of Kohath, one of the 3 Levitical clans. Before the Kohathites could approach it, the priests, the sons of Aaron, were required to cover it entirely. The outer layer was dolphin skin. Over that went a blue cloth. The cherubim on the lid were never to be exposed when the ark was in transit. The Kohathites carried it on their shoulders using 2 wooden poles threaded through gold rings on its sides. Those poles were never to be removed from the rings. Never. The instructions in Numbers make the reason plain. If the Kohathites touched the ark, they would die. This was not a warning about disrespect. It was a structural protocol for managing proximity to something understood as actively, physically dangerous. The poles existed so that no human hand ever had to make direct contact with the object. The covering existed so that no human eye looked directly at it while it moved. The entire system of Levitical service around the ark was, at its engineering level, a set of insulation layers between the presence and the people tasked with moving it. Those people walked with it across Sinai. They carried it through the Jordan River. They bore it around the walls of Jericho for 7 days, while the army followed behind. For most of that history, the protocol held, and then, in the reign of David, it did not. The story of Uzzah is the one the tradition knows but does not fully explain. David has decided to bring the ark from Kiriath Jearim to Jerusalem. It is a political move as much as a religious one. Establishing the holy object in the new capital consolidates his rule. The procession assembles. And here is the detail the text records without editorial comment. The ark is placed on a new cart, pulled by oxen, not carried on poles by Kohathites, transported on a cart, the way the Philistines had sent it back years earlier. That decision matters. At a certain point in the procession, the oxen stumble. The ark lurches. A man named Uzzah, who had apparently lived near the ark at Kiriath Jearim, who had spent years in proximity to it, reaches out his hand to steady it. The text says he touched it, The text says he died immediately. David's reaction has been interpreted as grief, reverence, or awe. The text uses a different word. David was angry, and then the text says David was afraid. He stopped the procession entirely. He refused to bring the ark into Jerusalem. Instead, he diverted it to the house of a man named Obed-Edom the Gittite, a foreigner from Gath, and left it there for 3 months. 3 months. The king of Israel, the man who had wanted the ark in his capital, left it at the home of a foreign laborer because he was not willing to bring it any closer to himself. The text does not editorialize, it does not need to. The behavior of the man tells you everything about what the people closest to the story actually believed about what they were dealing with. The Philistine encounter predates all of this, and it is in some ways the more revealing episode because it involves people who had no theological stake in the outcome. At the Battle of Ebenezer, the Israelites bring the ark to the battlefield. They lose anyway. The ark is captured. The Philistines take it to Ashdod and place it in the temple of Dagon, their primary deity. The next morning, the cult statue of Dagon is found fallen on its face before the ark. They set it upright. The following morning, it is fallen again, this time with its head and hands broken off on the threshold. Then the plague begins. The people of Ashdod develop tumors. The text is not vague about the physical suffering. The city enters a state of crisis. They send the ark to Gath. Gath breaks out in tumors. They send it to Ekron. Ekron refuses to accept it. The city is in open panic before the ark even arrives. The Philistine lords convene. They have held the ark for 7 months. In those 7 months, they have lost a major deity, suffered a plague across 3 cities, and watched their population deteriorate. They call their priests. The Philistine priests are worth pausing on. These are men with no theological connection to the God of Israel. They are reasoning from first principles, working from the observable evidence of what has happened. And they arrive at a sophisticated conclusion. The ark must be sent back, and it must be accompanied by a guilt offering. 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice, 1 for each Philistine lord and each afflicted city. They design a test. They put the ark on a new cart hitched to 2 milk cows that have never been yoked, then remove their calves. If the cows walk directly toward Israelite territory without deviation, against every maternal instinct, that confirms what has happened to them is not coincidence. The cows walk directly to Beth Shemesh without turning aside. The Philistine lords follow at a distance and watch them go. At Beth Shemesh, the ark is received by the Israelites harvesting wheat in the field. They make offerings, and then, according to the text of 1 Samuel, some of them look inside it. The death toll recorded in the Hebrew text is 70 men. Some manuscript traditions record a higher number. The people of Beth Shemesh respond exactly as David would later respond. They refuse to keep it. They send messengers to Kiriath Jearim asking the inhabitants to come and take it. The question they ask is one of the most unguarded lines in the entire ancient record. They say, "Who is able to stand before the Lord, this holy God?" This is not devotional language. This is people in visible distress asking a practical question about survival. The pattern across all of these encounters is not theological argument. It is a behavioral record. The Philistines acquire the ark and route it through 3 cities in 7 months, trying to get away from what it does to them. The Israelites at Beth Shemesh receive it and immediately send it elsewhere. David stops a royal procession mid-route and deposits the ark with the nearest available person, rather than continue toward it. Every group that possesses the ark reaches, by different paths, the same operational conclusion. Proximity is not manageable at close range without the exact protocols in place. The carrying poles were not ceremonial. They were the engineering solution to an understood problem. The insistence that they never be removed from the rings was not ritual obsession. It was the maintenance of a permanent buffer between the object and any human hand. The specific Levitical bloodline requirement was not hierarchical preference. It was the designation of a class of men whose entire lives were structured around a single proximity risk. Consider what that actually meant for the men who carried it. Sons of Kohath, trained from childhood for a task that their culture told them, in explicit terms, could kill them if performed incorrectly. Moving the most powerful object their civilization recognized across open terrain, in battle proximity, through political crises for generations. No deviation permitted, no improvisation allowed. The moment the protocol broke down, one cart, one stumble, one hand, the record shows exactly what happened. Their names appear in genealogies, their service is documented in chronicles. The generations of Kohathite families who maintained the carrying lines across the wilderness period, across the conquest, across the establishment of the monarchy. These were not anonymous functionaries. They were specific men from specific families doing a specific job that no one else in their entire nation was permitted to do under conditions that the text describes as inherently fatal if mishandled. And then the Ark disappears. The last confirmed location in the historical record is the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. After the Babylonian conquest of 586 BCE, written in full because the date carries weight, the temple is destroyed and the sacred objects are cataloged in the Book of Kings as taken to Babylon. The Ark is not among them. It is not mentioned in the lists. It is simply absent from the record from that point forward. No capture, no destruction, no transfer, no explanation. The men who spent their lives carrying it, whose family lines are documented across centuries of service, whose deaths in proximity to it are noted in the text with the same matter-of-fact precision as a census record. Those men are there. The genealogies hold. The service records hold. The object they gave their lives to protect does not appear again. The story does not end. It stops.